But I'm very thrilled that we have these two gentlemen with us today, Christian Clausen.
Klausner.
Klausner? Yeah, there I can see it. And not that I would have still said it right. Benjamin Kramer. Thank you, Michael. Benjamin's from SOS Children's Villages, and Christian is from Atos.
Okay.
And they've jointly worked on this project, so they're both going to present today. Gentlemen, I'll probably be in and out, but I'll be back towards the end, and when you see me come back in, you'll have some sense there's only like 10 minutes left or so. Great, and if in the meantime we have any troubles, I'll come by too.
All right, thank you. So, welcome everybody. What we're talking about today is SharePoint technology and our approach, and are we willing to reuse it throughout the whole federation of the SOS universe. So what you can expect for the next 45 or approximately, we have also some time for questions, minutes, is that in the beginning I'm going to present something about our global challenge, like what were the reasons for us to go in the direction of SharePoint, and the reason behind the idea of reusing, for example, the technology for different business challenges. Out of this, there's the architectural role of SharePoint evolving, and it's the answer for our search for a solution for the answer for the challenges. After that, I'm be doing a quick dive into 2 or 3 tools we have on the SharePoint platform running, developed by our partner, or global development partner, Atos. At this point in time, I will hand over to Christian, and he will present in the 4th part how we develop in the background the apps for the SharePoint platform based on a technology which is called Matchpoint Snow. And in the end, I'm giving a quick outlook on what we expect to do or what we plan to do. This is us. So the global challenge of SOS Children's Villages is that we have programs and lots of types of programs in over 130 countries. In totally different regions. We have over 6 regions worldwide. We group our programs in. And we face a lot of challenges, and there are a lot of inequalities between the regions, challenges to cover exactly the local needs. So we also need some kind of platform technology to cope exactly with this situation. And of course, we are also facing different cultures and processes behind exactly these regions, and so we need something which we see really flexible and also can be brought into regions where you have, for example, lack of connectivity, for example, and which enables us to do lots of stuff in the regions and be flexible enough. I mean, you probably know that we are all constantly under constant pressure regarding our costs, and I think Ginny mentioned it 2 days ago in the panel discussion, that it's the backbone. Like at TE, we're doing a lot of import stuff, but we are part of a backbone which acts in the behind everything. And we of course also under pressure regarding management, saying, okay, let's do it as low cost as possible. So we were searching for possibilities to optimize our service cost ratio in this regard, making sure we have technology in place which enables us to really go with as less as possible resources, development resources, system resources, etc. So this was our starting point. So I was saving hopefully some money and put it into our money pit. The first point which comes into our mind, possibilities or something you always need to also operate systems is know-how. So, and know-how, you probably know, is something you should not save too much of money. Like you need a lot good people to achieve good things. So in the end, this is one really important aspect. The other one is, of course, the system itself, like choosing a system which really enables you to be flexible. And the combination of both we try to go in the direction of reuse knowledge, reuse systems, and reduce the costs, for example, by having, for example, a fixed group of developers for a platform which can also develop different apps on the platform without being or without hiring some real specialists in this regard and having a lot of people being specialists in a certain area. But what we are searching for really broad thinkers and developers which are able to cope with different business challenges. Our big answer, or the answer we found for this for the challenge, was having already SharePoint in place and having it rolled out globally. We thought about, okay, how is it possible perhaps to reuse it? And together with our development partner, Atos, we found some kind of add-on also for SharePoint, which enables us exactly to do this, which is the Matchpoint Snow. The result is that we are flexible enough to cope with the global inequalities and challenges, and we have some kind of platform on which we can operate different applications, a runtime environment, how to say, and we have in place in the International Global Office as one central development unit, which in which they channel the requests out of the global world and develop apps which should cope with different needs, etc., etc. Right, and I'm going to show you two examples. At first, we have the InfoHub, which is our request management system. The idea behind the InfoHub was to connect our promoting and supporting associations, like fundraising associations, directly with associations in the regions, so that there are no communication steps in between. If the fundraising association has a certain question regarding a region or something, then they can find something and pose a request. The other one is called eRooster, and the eRooster is the answer to the need of our emergency relief team to activate our over 30,000 employees all over the world to work or to be registered for emergency relief programs. Like, we have totally different skills all over the federation, and the aim was to exactly make sure, okay, we have a list and certain overview of the skills we have in the federation and can bring them directly towards the place where it's needed in case of an emergency. So let me quickly show you what it's all about. So for example, here we have, sorry. We have the InfoHub interface, and what we can see in the above here is already what I have mentioned before. Like, we have a certain runtime environment, and it's at the same time the engine point for a lot of applications. So, for example, the emergency rooster you can start here, or of course also the InfoHub we are currently in. The InfoHub, for example, is just a collection of workspaces. So if we have a request, what is done in the background is that a workspace is created in which people collaborate. So for example, we have different kind of fields. We implemented certain, the Atos implemented some kind of workflow in the background. People can also exchange, and what we can see is the request and the responses. We have a timeline with certain deadlines, and you have the possibility to also upload documents. So that in the end, you have some kind of request to a region, some kind of request for a fundraising initiative, information which the donor requested, and a certain answer to this directly coming out of the region. This is only an example of an application we are running on the SharePoint Matchpoint platform. Another example is our eRooster. So for example, what you can see here is a certain person who registered in the user, and you have to go through a certain some formulas and fill in details, what skills you can provide to emergency relief program, and at the end what's the result is a database and the possibility of the emergency booster team to really see, okay, what kind of talents and skills do we have in the regions in case of an emergency. And certainly Christian can explain it a bit better, but in the end this is again based on the SharePoint and workspace philosophy. The next example would be, for example, our virtual collaboration platform, which is supposed to connect the whole federation globally and enables them to store their documents, to collaborate, to discuss. And it's again based on workspaces and functionalities provided inside the workspaces. And we really try to reuse and recycle, so to say, this kind of philosophy throughout all applications. All right. So let's hand over to Christian and the far more detailed details.
Thanks a lot. So, also a warm welcome from my side. My name is Christian Klausner. I'm from ATES. We are a partner of SOS Children's Village since about 20 years now. I'm a senior consultant for SharePoint and Microsoft technology and everything around it. And I have now the pleasure to give you some information about the framework and everything else. Just a short question to the audience: how familiar you are with SharePoint? Have you worked with it? Do you know what it is? Do you know what it can? Do you know what the obstacles are? Yes, actually Microsoft, when you talk to Microsoft, they say SharePoint is the Swiss knife of IT technology, so you can do everything with it. It's not really a lie, but it is bound to much effort which you have to put into your platform to get it working the way you want to do. And actually there are several partners around which are creating add-ons, third-party products for SharePoint. And one is these Matchpoints or Matchpoint Snow, which we are going to talk and which is utilized by SOS for building up this application platform. As a last point, I just want to get into what are the benefits of this Matchpoint framework and how does this fit the strategy of SOS. So first of all, let's take a quick look in this Matchpoint thing. Matchpoint is a framework tailored by a Swiss company called Polygon. Actually, Matchpoint started as its own project, so they were creating a prototype for a governance, so Ministry of Switzerland, and they came up with an idea to making a framework to easily build up applications. So they want to make a framework application platform which is based on non-code solutions. So you have the ability to build applications and apps and solutions without any need to code. So what they are going to do is, or what they have done is, they built several building blocks like web parts and taxonomy or tag providers, workspace templates, data providers, and so on, which can be used during your solution building time. They also have some sort of extension and expressions, and the whole thing is extensible. So it's not written into stone. So you can take it as your own platform and build on your own web parts, build on your own extension handlers, and so on. So it's not really written to stone. So what is the idea behind? we know it probably from other organizations like the automobile industry. There is in most of these organizations you have a standardized platform, like you see it here for an automobile, and this is more like the basis. It is every time the same, independently what's the outcome. Even it's a Porsche or an Audi or a Volkswagen, it is independent. So the platform is every time the same. The surroundings, so the chassis or what is coming into the car, is different. And this approach, Polygon wants to bring to SharePoint. So we have a basis, SharePoint, we have a basis, Matchpoint, and the surroundings can be tailored together with the needs, with the help of these web products, data providers, and so on. So if we try to compare this, we have our basis, like SharePoint Matchpoint, and the outcome could be that you have social collaboration in SharePoint, corporate intranets, and business applications, and also this digital workspace. So this is the main idea, the main focus of the Matchpoint framework. During their research and during their building up of this framework, they came across these 6 pillars. I don't want to go into detail of what are the pillars in detail, but just for a summary, they have figured out that it is probably best to do something for the create and organize pillar. So by bringing up templates, by bringing up mechanisms for automatic tagging and so on. Find and navigation would be a good idea. Visualize and personalize, modify, control, and so on. So these are the 6 main pillars where the building blocks may fit in defined in this Matchpoint framework. So when we take a deeper look into this architecture, so we have at the bottom, we have as a basis SharePoint with all its features, with all its goodies, and also with all its obstacles and pains we have. Built on top of this, we have the Matchpoint framework. So we have an expression engine, a configuration framework based on XML configurations. We have several service APIs like tagging, taxonomy, data providers, data tappers to connect to SQL databases, ERP systems, SAP, what else is flying around in your organization. And you also have the possibility to build around your own business logic if you want. And at the top, we have then these web parts, data grids, providers, and so on. So this is what the Matchpoint framework is all about. So the question now is, now we have this framework. It's just these are just building bricks which can be put together and brought in place to do something for you. But it's not actually a real application now. It's something you have to pre-configure, you have to install, and so on. So what Polygon was searching for, and also for their presentations, is such a maybe a prototype or product which they can present, which they can dive into and show what Matchpoint is capable of. And they came up with the idea of Matchpoint Snow. So Snow was in the first versions just a prototype, just for presentations. Now it's evolved to a project, or a product in that case, which can be which is bought automatically when you buy the Matchpoint licenses. So no further need to buy something. So you get it on top of it. And the name Snow comes from snowflake. So they try to search for a name which maybe is a little bit weird, but why they called it Snow is about, you see it in the logo. So if you try to think about collaboration and the democracy around the collaboration, so you have people, they are connected together, you have information which is connected together, and if you lay it down at a table and look it from high above, you see a structure, and the structure is mainly the same as a snowflake. So snowflake is where you have these branches and so on. And therefore, they came up with the idea, okay, let's call it Snowflake, because it is quite simple to that what we have in digital collaboration. And yeah, as I told you, it's an off-the-shelf solution for this digital workspace. So this is what we have seen in the presentation of Benjamin. So what is actually now the key features of Snow? Snow is actually leveraging the SharePoint product, and it is trying to make use and enhance the usability and functionality which SharePoint gives us. So it tries to extend this to a level where everyone is capable of working with it. It is information centric, so we have mechanisms like tagging in it, and this is one of the main features. So every content you push into SharePoint, independently if it's a workspace, if it's a document or a list item, is tagged automatically. So you have information which is automatically bound to the item itself. They also try to put in some sort of rich responsive user interface, so independently what device you're using, whether it's a tablet, it's a phone, or a normal PC, it should, or it looks like you see it on the screen. So they try to make it responsive as far as possible. Then we have, and this is what we also can take a look at, we have workspaces for collaboration. So we have templates within the Snowflake where we're able to put up workspaces, to put together project groups and so on. We also try to leverage the social features like liking, tagging, following, the same mechanisms we all use to based on Facebook and so on. More or less. And one of the major things is this taxonomy model. SharePoint has its own taxonomy model. It's called Termsto. Maybe some of you know it, and I'm not happy with it, actually. When you try to ask me about it, I think it's the worst I've ever seen, so it's not really usable. And Matchpoint, so Polygon, also tries to get around this and build up its own taxonomy model. So they build up their own mechanisms for tagging, for putting taxonomy on the items, so workspaces, documents, and so on. And as we have seen, it is extensible. So we have in the upper corner we have a tab called App, where you can push it down and you see all the installed apps in the system. So what was the reason for SOS to go that way? Is, as Benjamin mentioned, it is the reusage of IT products which are in the organization, so like SharePoint, and make it make it in a way so that everyone works with it and loves to work with it, and they try to bring in processes like the business processes. So they want to build up apps to have the business processes in their digital workplace. They want to have apps like case management or emergency management, as we see, the e-roster. And they also bring in things like collaboration, so these self-service workspaces like team collaborations. So they want to connect people and make use of social tools like wikis and all these things which SharePoint offers out of the box. So nothing built in, it's all out of the box. And as I mentioned before, Matchpoint more or less is bound to taxonomy, to metadata. So this is what the platform leverage the most, and therefore we all, or most of us, maybe come across the term search-driven applications. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with this term? So what a search-driven application is? So it's more like everyone used it before. If you go to Amazon, that's a search-driven application. You type in what you search for, and you get a result, and you can then drill down the results by using metadata which is bound to the search result itself. And the same is the same focus we have in this Matchpoint framework, Matchpoint Snow framework. So we want to use it for the collaboration itself. So we have our colleagues. These colleagues are working on team workspaces, maybe on project workspaces, and so on and so on. So when we take a look at the people themselves, so we have a group of people which are maybe working on a team workspace. We have several other peoples which are working on a board meeting, and so on and so on. And what they are doing, they are producing information like documents, information like schedules, list items, and so on. So these items may come to a certain list or library, or even to a workspace itself. And out of the box, so this is what normally it's not done by SharePoint, but what we want to do, or what we want to have is, we have several metadata around it. So we have metadata like what team is working on, what is this project, the workspace is for, what is the event which is bound to this event stage, and so on. We have personalized data like names of the persons who are working in these workspaces. We have document types, so maybe expansion reports or job profiles, and so on. And all these metadata come together and describe the information I have in the SharePoint itself. So this is what we want to have. SharePoint does not offer us this in a way we can easily use. We have probably some of them. We have the more or less the type of a project, type of a document, maybe we have the information about the organization unit, and so on and so on. And what Matchpoint now does is, it takes all this information as tags and push this to a certain item, whether it's the workspace itself or it's the document. So each and every document, list item, or the workspace itself holds this information without any further need. So you don't have to push the status to the document because it is done automatically for you. Or the information about the project manager or the budget, it is all done for you automatically. And where is the data coming from? The data is saved somewhere in the project workspace itself. So it's a data which is there and which can be searched for. And each and every information in the workspace holds this data now. So you can use the search and go down and see what is the outcome. So the main focus around this Matchpoint and Matchpoint Snow is metadata. This is all about, so all the metadata you see in the workspaces or in the portal itself is pushed down to the single items. So we have metadata like process metadata, so what phases we are in, what is the current status, and so on. We have organizational metadata, we have product metadata. So everything is going down to the single items. So the business context, so everything is automatically assigned to a single item. So that's for that.
And the cool thing as well is that across all applications we have in the platform, the information, so the search-driven stuff, and all building one database. You can search through all applications if it's a request in InfoHub or if it's some kind of person in a use. So if it's enabled, you can find it and search it.
Yes.
So that's again a huge knowledge database for us across all applications.
Yeah. So the metadata itself is stored in a separate database, which is then brought to SharePoint, and it can be used within the search, within the refinement and conditional filtering, and so on. So it's quite an useful tool there. So now the main question is, what's the difference between a normal SharePoint project and a project with this Matchpoint Snow application framework? So when we look at the traditional delivery of a SharePoint project, we normally run through several phases. Several phases. I think I have brought here 4, maybe it's 5. So one would be the starting point is in every project the conception. So you have to think about what do I want to have, what should it be, and so on and so on. The next one would be how will we solve this? So the design. Then the next one is the real development, and the last one would be the implementation, so that the delivery to the customer, so to our colleagues. If we take a look at the timeline and the fulfillment of what features made it to the implementation, we are at the beginning around nothing, so we have null, and at the end, maybe somewhere around 80 to 90% of features come to the end. So this is what is implemented. The last 20% or 10% maybe are lost during the implementation because they are too heavy to implement, or it was not going to the matchpoint framework at all because there was no technique to build it in. In comparison to the matchpoint Snow, actually we have the implementation or this timeline reduced more or less to half of the time. So we are just having several small bits of things we have to go through. So let me show you all of them. So we have at the first, we are starting with an implementation because Matchpoint Snow is a product which can be installed, and it has functionality which can be used by the colleagues, and they can get in, test, and do their work there and see if it's fitting their needs. So they can do some sort of proof of concept. At a certain point of time, they say, okay, we have enough data on our side, we can do some sort of gap analysis. So what do we really need in comparison what we get out of the Snow framework? The outcome of this gap analysis can be used for an optimization, and as a last point we have the delivery. So if we now compare this to the timeline and the fulfillment rate of the traditional, at the start we have probably 80% because it's a product and the product has its own functionality. So this is what SOS mainly use. They say, okay, we have this product installed, and let's see how many things we have to change to get to our delivery. So we have 80% there. What are the last 20%? So this is this 80-20% rule. So 80% are there, the last 20% may take us the main effort. Yeah, and at the end of this delivery, we might end up by having, in comparison to the traditional approach, we have about 90 to 95% of feature completeness and feature fulfillment. And the rest I just used for some words. So we have a shorter time to market because we are using a product, we are using, or we can reuse everything what is there. We have therefore less risk because we are not inventing the wheel once again. So it's every time we are building on something which is which was used before. We have therefore less costs and higher adaptations. And as a last question, which I was mostly asked, what's all about? You're using SharePoint, you're using this framework. What is the migration path? Because Microsoft normally has a migration path from one version of SharePoint to the next one and to the next one. And how does this fit into this matchpoint strategy? And actually, Polygon, who is the inventor of this matchpoint, gives you the same approach as SharePoint, as Microsoft in that case. So when Microsoft says there will be a next version of SharePoint, Matchpoint, which is a gold partner of Microsoft, will do the same. So you don't have to care about the basis. The basis will be changed automatically. You only have to care about maybe your customers, your clients, because maybe there are some new features coming in to this migration, because as we have seen in SharePoint 2010 compared to 2013, new features coming in, blogs, wikis, and so on, and they were stabilized. And the same would be for the matchpoint migration. But technically, there is nothing to do. The only thing what you have to do is set up a new computer, install the new framework, bring on the new data, so bring on your existing data by the usage of database migration, and you're ready to go. That's more or less everything what you have to do during a migration. The side effect of this is, and this is where sometimes we have to stretch our own heads, is things are evolving. So SharePoint brings in new features, Matchpoint does the same thing, and due to such migrations, we sometimes face the thing that maybe someone has developed an application like the eRoaster, which is using standard features and using custom features we brought in, and due to the migration from one version to the next one, our custom feature is now a standard feature, and we have to build it back to the standard to be on the safe side. So this is actually one of the obstacles we are sometimes facing. So therefore the migration is not really, it is seamless, but it's something which you have to probably get into this situation where you have built on your own feature, and now you have to rebuild it back because the standard gives you the same feature. So this is maybe the case you might face. So the benefits for SOS using this Matchpoint framework was it is easy to access corporate information because of this standard tagging, automatic tagging. They want to connect people, they want to get a hand on their knowledge, on their passive and active knowledge, and have this all together in one platform. They want to have a one-stop shop, so they're collaborative internet where they can go to see their workspaces, see their information, and have as called a one-stop shop. They want to leverage the social power with that, so we have wikis in it, we have these blog postings, and so on and so on.
Christian, you have 5 minutes.
Thanks a lot. And I'm nearly done.
Good.
And the last 2 points, what we want or what we have or what the benefits are, as mentioned, we have short development time. So the eRoaster, for example, the eRoaster application, which was shown, took us about a month to implement. We have done it as an agile approach. We have made 4 sprints, so each more or less a week, and it took us about a month to came up with this application. Currently we are working on another application called Grant Management System, where SOS wants to manage their grants and how to get to grants and to process the grants. There we have currently around 2.5 months time involved, and it is ready for delivery, so we have it on the productive environment. Yeah, and the last one is, as mentioned, the stressless or seamless migration. But this is, as mentioned, it's doable, but it's you have to invest some time in it because it's not that easy.
Stressless for SOS or for you?
Stressless for both, actually.
In best case, yes.
In best case, it's stressless for both. Know that the real world shows us that it is doable, but as mentioned, the main thing what we are always facing is that we build in things which then Polygon says, oh, that's cool. We bring it to our own product, and then we have our custom development, and we have the main product, which is then giving us the same opportunity, and maybe more of this, and more, and it's getting even better, and therefore we have to reduce our functionality because it is done by the main product, and that's the main issue we have during these migration issues.
I mean, it means more effort, of course, but it's a bit the balance between more effort in migration and a better time to market for the applications. So that should balance itself, and then it's fine. Yeah, thank you, Christian,
You're welcome.
for your insight. So just quickly in the end, what's the outlook? So of course we are now having heard of what is under the hood, and under the hood we have the SharePoint and the Matchpoint platform to build onto it. And what we are now going forward to is, or looking forward to, is to extend our virtual collaboration. Really getting it into the federation, that it is used, that it's that the documents are shared, and that the taxonomy is used, that people really have this kind of knowledge base, and throughout all regions we have so much possibilities for exchange actually, that it's really a key product. Another idea of us is to implement the workflow management, like having the SharePoint lists and web frames and build workflows with it, and of course as well the mentioned grant management system. So far so good. Are there any questions?
We have barely time for one or two questions. Are you running this on premise, or is it sitting in the cloud somewhere?
It is on premise, but in the cloud. So
Okay.
it is an Azure virtual machine
Okay.
sitting on it. But
Since 2 weeks.
Since 2
Okay.
yeah. So we had this migration,
Okay.
and it took us about 2 days to migrate from on-premise somewhere to the on-premise cloud.
Virtual. Yeah. Good.
And also Polygon is now, they are working now for 1 and a year. Yeah, it is about 1 year to bring also Matchpoint to the cloud. So they have a cooperation with Microsoft.
Right. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much. This was great.